When something terrible happens, it feels like the conversation immediately jumps to politics, right? To blame, to debate. But what if there's another way? A totally different way to process and respond to violence. Today, we're going to dive into one community's framework for facing adversity. And it's a response that isn't rooted in winning an argument, but in a really unique spiritual take on truth, love, and peace. So, after a truly shocking act of violence hit their community, one of their own, they didn't organize a protest, they didn't launch some big political campaign. Instead, their whole focus, their entire conversation, turned to a single ancient Greek word. And that choice, it's the absolute key to unlocking their entire worldview. And that really brings us to the core question here, doesn't it? It kind of challenges our most common instinct. What if, after something awful happens, the goal just wasn't to win the argument? What if it was about something else entirely? Okay, so the event that kicked off this whole deep reflection was the tragic murder of a Christian leader named Charlie Kirk. And look, this wasn't some theoretical exercise for them. This was a real-world crisis, a moment that forced this community to take what they believed and actually put it into practice. And right here, you can see two paths that are just worlds apart. On one hand, you've got the common reaction, right? Which is to dive straight into political debates, moral arguments, the whole shebang. But the path this group took, they decided to sidestep all of that completely. Their focus was going to be on sharing their message and offering peace. And they chose this path very deliberately, because for them, the ultimate solution to the problems we see in the world, well, it's not found in new laws or winning debates. It's found in what they believe to be the truth of Christ. This quote from their discussion really says it all. It's like their mission statement in a crisis. Our mission is to share the gospel of peace, hope, and love, rather than engaging in political or moral debates. It's a very conscious choice to put their spiritual message first, because they truly believe it's the most powerful response they could possibly have. But, okay, this is the big question, right? It might sound a little abstract. How does a message of peace, hope, and love become a practical, real-world response to something as brutal as murder? Well, the answer, it all goes back to that Greek word we mentioned at the start. And that word is Alethea. Seriously, this is the cornerstone of their whole worldview. It's the foundation for how they respond to tragedy. Alethea. Now, on the surface, it's the Greek word for truth you see all over the New Testament. But for this community, its meaning, wow, it goes so much deeper than just, facts or being correct. See, for them, Alethea isn't a list of rules. It's not a dusty old doctrine. They see it as truth with a capital T, a living, divine reality. It's God himself revealed and made real. So it's not just something you believe. It's something that, in their view, gets infused into you. Okay, so how does this divine truth actually work in someone's life? What does it do? Well, they see it having three main jobs. First, it sets people free. Second, it sanctifies believers. And we'll get to what that means in just a sec. And third, it becomes the very foundation for a real relationship with God. All right, let's talk about that second point, sanctification. What does that even mean? In this framework, it's all about being filled up with this Alethea, this divine reality. The idea is that this truth literally purifies a person from the inside out, changing who they are on a fundamental level. Okay, so we've got this really deep, kind of abstract idea of truth. So let's connect all the dots. How does believing in Alethea actually translate into a response to violence? How does it change what you do? And honestly, the difference is night and day. Think about it. A common, very human reaction to an attack is to want revenge, right? To condemn the enemy. But for this group, their understanding of truth requires something totally different, a mandate, really, to pray for the person who did it and to love your enemies. And this really shows you just how deep this goes. They're not praying for justice in the sense of punishment. Their primary goal, their main prayer, is for the conversion of the shooter's heart, for that person's complete transformation. And this isn't just about this one specific incident either. The group applies this exact same thinking to massive historical tragedies. They even talked about 9/11 and the incredible challenge, but also the importance of praying for and forgiving the people who commit these absolutely heinous acts. It's a totally consistent part of their worldview. So you see, this isn't just some nice philosophy they talk about. It's a real, disciplined practice for them. They genuinely see themselves as peacemakers, and they're fully committed to turning these beliefs into actual, concrete actions in their community. And all of this leads to their game plan, their next steps. And notice how practical this all is. They're going to keep sharing their message of peace, hope, and love. They're going to focus on Christ instead of getting bogged down in political fights. They're going to actively try to live and walk in this Alethea, this truth. They'll pray for all the families affected by violence. And this is so important. They're going to meet regularly to support each other. This is where theology really turns into community in action. So if there's one crucial point to take away from all this, it's this. For this community, their faith isn't just a nice thing that brings them comfort when times get tough. No, it's a complete, practical guide for action. It tells them not just what to believe, but what to do, especially when things are at their absolute worst. And that really leaves us with a final big question to think about, doesn't it? Regardless of what any of us believe personally, this whole story kind of pushes us to ask ourselves, when we're faced with tragedy, with real adversity, what's the ultimate point of our response? Is it to win an argument? Is it to heal, to create change? Or is it something else entirely?